Hello and welcome to Talk Truth. My name is Corey Huntsberger. I've got my father, Alan Huntsberger, in the studio with me. Dad, we're going to start off with our foundational verse because I find it very appropriate, especially for today's conversation. The earth and everything in it, the world and its inhabitants, including the woods, belong to the Lord, for he laid its foundation on the seas and established it on the rivers. Psalm 24, 1 and 2. I love this verse, especially with today's conversation, because, we've got people coming around and saying, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that, and, you're going to eat bugs, and you can't have meat, and no more flying, and no more walking in the woods, and it's like, whoa, back off, man. The earth and everything in it, the world and all its inhabitants belong to the Lord. We believe God created the woods for all of us, all mankind, to enjoy. Not for a couple people to go, you do not get to do that, right? You know what I'm saying, Dad? Sorry. I just get real feisty on this one.
You get a little dramatic here,
And by the way, for all the naysayers at the beginning, I'm going to say, yes, we want to be careful. We don't want to spark fires. Yes, we want to support our firefighters. We want to do the best we can. Put a ban on campfires maybe or smoking in the woods, but come on.
Well, people who walk the woods every day, like I do,
like you do,
it's always good. It's always good to have a guest that walks the woods as well. But out west in Calgary, we walk the woods, and every once in a while they put a sign up, "Beware of the bear," but that's about it. But then you have a choice of whether you want to go beyond the barrier or not, I guess, because there's a bear there, maybe. But one of the things that are important is that, I experienced this before in a different scenario, which was they closed the road because of snow.
Yeah, right.
And I said, can the road really be closed? Isn't that a public road? And the RCMP officer says, well, we can't keep you from going on the road. But what we're saying is that if you go off in the ditch in this winter storm in the wintertime, no emergency vehicles will come and help you out. So you got to enter it on your own risk. I said, okay, that's fair enough. And the way I went. So I think that, when somebody's saying you can't walk in the woods, the question is why? And why are you coming down on people who can't walk in the woods? Because people who normally walk in the woods are very woods conscious and care about nature and love the woods.
Yeah. Well, let's bring on our guest. I'm excited to have him. I found him on Twitter, and he actually, probably you've seen him everywhere now. He's getting plastered all over the news, on television, online. Jeff Evely, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you. I'm going to play a clip. Let's play the clip real quick, and then I'm going to find out a little bit about you. This is how I found you. This is the first time I was ever introduced to you, who you are. I didn't know anything about, but I found out about you and your dog, Axel, by watching this.
Hey, everybody. Jeff Evely here. I'm in Petersfield Provincial Park in the most tyrannical province of Canada, which is Nova Scotia, with my fuzzy friend Axel, where we walk pretty much every single morning. And here you can see that this area is taped off because that trail is the woods. But this area is not taped off because that's not the woods. This area is taped off because that's the woods, and there is a sign here that says trail closed due to extreme fire hazard. So that is the woods. This area is not the woods. This area is the woods. This area is not the woods. This area is the woods. This area is not the woods. This area is the woods. This area is not the woods. This area is the woods. This area is not the woods. Now, the first time that Tyron Tim pulled this area was the woods, and there were pylons all across this trail, so I could not enter in 2023. But this is 2025, so it's not the woods.
Jeff, that's the first time I got to meet you online, and I said to myself, who is this guy? We got to get him on the show. Jeff, tell us a little bit about you. Who are you?
Like I've been saying on the whole interview circuit here, like it doesn't really matter who I am. The truth will stand or fall on its own. The law will stand or fall on its own. So, it's the old don't shoot the messenger. But yeah, I mean, if you want to know a little bit about who I am personally, I was born and raised right here in Sydney, Nova Scotia. I joined the military in 2001 when I was 22, and I did a 20-year career from there. I deployed to Afghanistan in 2009. In 2010, I went down to Tyndall Air Force Base in Florida to work with NORAD for 4 years. And then I was posted back to Ottawa, National Defense Headquarters, and I just kind of moved around there for a little while, deployed again to Iraq in 2019. I did a few other things like the Nijmegen marches in 2016, 4 days of marching with a pack on my back in the Netherlands, which was pretty cool, a bit of a soldier's pilgrimage, and then in 2021, I was medically released. The day I took possession of my retirement home here in Sydney, Nova Scotia was the day that vaccine passports came into effect. And I bought my house like crawling distance from the Legion. So I went down there at one point and they refused me service. I kicked up a stink about it and stuff like that. But ultimately I left. But from there, I bought one of the Legion hats that says, "Lest we forget." And I took a black permanent marker and I crossed out the "lest" because we forget. I mean, we forget that these rights and these freedoms are hard won, and that these are the legacy of our fallen. I got arrested a couple of times refusing to wear my mask with that hat on. I got refused service a few more times, submitted a bunch of human rights complaints. I'm still in court over that for the refusals of service. I beat my mask violations. And while all that was in queue, the trucker convoy fired up. So I took off and went to that. I ran the shift schedule for the veterans who did the sentry duty at the monument after we took the fence down that Jim Watson had put up in an attempt to smear, convoy participants. And I got arrested on the 19th, not the 18th. I was there holding the line on the 18th, but I didn't get arrested until the next day while I was on my way to the monument for my 4 a.m. shift, sentry duty shift. I refused their orders to stop, and they said I couldn't go in there. And I was like, yes, I can. Like, I'm a war veteran wearing my war medals on the way to the war monument. We appealed that recently. The appeal was denied. So we may be taking that one to the Supreme Court before you know it. I also did Rolling Thunder, which was a wreath-laying ceremony at the monument to give dignity back to it and to the veterans who were beaten and drug off the monument. I was the Sergeant Major on parade, and I spoke at the event. The cops came out and rearrested me after I did that because I had breached my conditions from the convoy not to return to the red zone. I did it. I did it knowingly, so I pled guilty to the breach. Did the march with James Topp. I could not get to the monument with him because of my conditions for my release in Ottawa. I wasn't allowed in Ottawa at all for 2.5 years. And so I did the march with him. I had to stop that march short at the sign for Arnprior because that's the civic boundary for the greater Ottawa area. And I marched with him again when he came back through the East Coast. He didn't take a step on Cape Breton Island without me. And I was a co-organizer nationally for the 1 Million March for Children. Just recently, I ran in the federal election as a People's Party candidate in Sydney Glace Bay. And now I'm doing this.
For me, I'm so glad we got the opportunity to meet you, and because you're what Al and I have been talking about for a long time, right, Dad? Getting involved, doing things, and you're just out there, and by the way, we just want to say thank you so much for your service. Did you ever think traveling the world, being sent out and traveling the world, you'd have to some of your toughest battles would be here on your own homeland, on your own turf?
I often say, I never thought that I would be living through, a period like this where simply freely breathing the air or taking a walk in the woods is somehow controversial. But so on the one hand, it's very surreal to have to live through this experience. It seems like we had already won all these battles a long time ago. So much ground has been lost, and we need to hold this ground and retake ground. But on the other hand, I haven't watched mainstream news in a good 15 years. I've been saying for years, like, we're heading in the wrong direction. Something is really wrong. My smart friends that I get together with, a couple of times a year are always calling me a crackpot. But every time we get together, I'm like, see, everything is getting worse. All of these kind of social harbingers of becoming tyranny, they're like, we're getting more and more Orwellian as the years go by. And then, sure enough, we hit this full-blown civilizational crisis in 2020. And I was like, okay, so where are all my smart friends now to say they told me so? Because here we are in a full-blown tyranny. I saw it coming at least 10 years away, I would say.
We're going to go to the next clip where you actually go for the ticket. I love that you challenged it. You did it in the most nicest Canadian way. Super, super apologetic, super nice. Watch this.
This is the DNR office on Mountain Road in Coxheath, Nova Scotia, and this is not the woods. But back here, this is the woods. So I have a couple of conservation officers with me right now who are not on camera but have advised me that if I go into the woods, if I defy their orders to go into the woods, then I will be fined, and they also said that they would double my fine to $50,000. So I'm going to walk down here and go into these woods. I don't know that there's a good spot to do this, but I'm just going to make this as painless as I can for those guys and go in here, walking in the woods. All right, isn't this great? We good? Okay. And I didn't ask, but did you write the ticket already, or?
No, we'll meet you back out front.
Back out front at the reception desk there? Okay, if I bring my camera, keep you guys off it?
Yep.
Okay. I'll see you in there, guys. Right. Thank you. Hi. I was just out back with the three gentlemen there. They said they would meet me back in here, so.
Want to go that to make it quicker?
Okay, so this is an SOT, and that is for summons to accused. What is this?
Summary offense ticket.
Yeah.
For today's date. Your information, Forest Act 25 sub 1. Fine is $28,872.50.
Okay. I thought it was 25,000. It's 28,870.
Court costs, victim fees.
Taxes.
Oh, victim fees.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Thanks very much, gentlemen.
Yeah.
I appreciate your courteous approach. Nice chatting with you. All right, take care. So here we go. Oh, I have a ticket here for, let me see if we can see that, $28,870.50 for victimizing somebody. Okay, so more to follow.
Well, there it is. Jeff, I have to ask you, what is a victim fee? I've never heard of that before. Have you heard of that? Victim fees?
I wasn't even sure what he was talking about when he was saying summary offense ticket. That's how much trouble I've had with the law. I'd never heard of that before either. And apparently it is law that they just automatically apply this victim surcharge on anything like this. And I was, well, it's like I was saying, for victimizing somebody. Who exactly did I victimize? By, walking through a corner of a patch of woods for all of about 90 seconds, under the supervision of 3 conservation officers, no less.
Yeah.
Have you got any support from any group or any individuals?
Yeah. JCCF reached out almost right away to offer me legal representation. I'm not fundraising. I've been saying that left, right, and center. I'm not doing any fundraising. If you see anybody out there starting a Give, Send, Go on my behalf, they're grifting. I'm steering everybody onto the JCCF. If you want to help me fight this fine, then donate to those guys.
Jeff, let me ask you this. How did you ever become someone who challenges, the civil disobedience, like, how did you become this way? Because like Canadians, that is not necessarily their thing. You know what I mean? They're very passive, they're kind, they're sheepish, they keep quiet. You've gone the complete opposite direction. How did that happen to you? How did you become this?
I don't know. I guess maybe it has a lot to do with the way that I grew up. Like I got my ear pierced when I was 9, so I got in fights every day my childhood basically, and even got expelled from school a couple of different ones. But and then I wasn't like a bad kid or anything like that. Just kind of had I guess problems like that. But yeah, I kind of got used to saying like, "Don't tread on me." I think at a pretty young age, like, this is my ear. This has nothing to do with you. Like, you don't get to tell me what to do with my body and stuff like that. So I think I had a pretty healthy appreciation for the fact that rights need to be asserted from a pretty young age. And when I went to basic training, I was taught that I had a duty to defy illegal orders. And the question that always comes up is, well, how am I going to know if that order is illegal? And the answer is you're going to use your own judgment. And will I be protected when they come after me for defying that order? No, you're going to go in front of a judge and he's going to rule on the legality of that order. And if you're wrong, then you're going to be charged under the National Defence Act. And why do we impose such a burden on our young people in Canada? Because that is what separates us from Nazis. I think my motivations for coming into the service, like in the West, in Western nations, our soldiers stand up to tyrants, thus always to tyrants. I mean, that has been the way in the West since the days of Alexander the Great. I really feel like everything I'm doing now, it almost feels like I never really stopped serving. I think I'm just sort of keeping with the principles that I've held dear for pretty much my entire life.
Let me ask you this. Alan and I have been saying since day one of COVID's been a good thing for Canada, because I think we've always known that there's something in the background, keeping Canada, contained and tyrannical, but it never really showed its face until COVID. That's when I think Canadians really woke up. Do you think Canadians are waking up? Do you think that this is a positive in some way because it allows Canadians to realize the reality of what we're really in? Like, we're living in illusion and they're kind of seeing through it now. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I think every time these idiots have another press conference, more Canadians wake up. So I want them to keep talking. I want Susan Holt to go out there again and tell everybody that in New Brunswick, the reason we're not letting you in the woods is because you'll break your legs, whereas in Nova Scotia, it's because they will start a fire with their sneakers. The whole thing is absurd, and the more these people open their mouths, the more people can hear the absurdities. So I just want these people to keep talking. I want to keep poking at them, keep the pressure on. That's a big part of why I did that video and put it on social media in the first place, is because I think the public awareness of what's really going on here, not only does it apply pressure to our politicians to keep saying stupid things, but also, like, we've been getting really bad precedent set in Canada for the last several years. And my hope is that if there's enough public awareness, even internationally, then perhaps that judge will think twice before he renders his decision, and make sure that he renders a proper one with proper reasoning written into it. And if he does that, if he just applies the law as it is written, then we're going to win.
It seems to me that, people don't understand what's going on, even now. And we just got a letter here from an individual who said that she's voted conservative all her life, but she changed to voting liberal for Carney because he seemed to be the guy that could stand up against Trump and his tariffs. And, then she found out some things about Mr. Carney, and now she, has regret that she voted for him. One of the things that we've done is, expose the lies and tell the truth. And the problem is, so many people are still locked into their media, whether it be CBC or Global or CTV or whatever it is, and still believe that what they're telling the people is the truth. And, when you have government and media, along with your educational system and your health system, all agreeing on one particular narrative, it's hard for the individual citizen to know what the truth is. And some people know because of instinctively, but some don't. And I think that's the biggest problem that we have in our country, is that the media is paid for by the government, particularly CBC, but even now all the other media are getting millions of dollars to give the government narrative. And so then people don't know how to judge who's right and who's wrong.
Yeah, and I think I would go a little further than you just did, and in terms of like the root issue. Well, I mean, this isn't really the root issue, but I would say beyond the issue of the media being bought and paid for, like they're not journalists at that point; they're propagandists, 1,000%, and you can see that just in the change of tone that we've seen since the government started financing. It is not the case that our press in Canada hold the government to account on behalf of the people anymore. Nowadays, they're in the business of holding the people to account on behalf of the government, and so that's why they run these rap smears on me, because I'm not on board with the government's messaging or agenda or whatever. So they will do everything they can to destroy the average citizen who dares to disagree with our lords and masters in Citadel Hill or Ottawa or wherever it may be. But the beyond that, this idea, I can see people have a real issue with their discernment, and in terms of like you said, telling truth from lie and this kind of thing. And fundamentally, I think that's an issue of their epistemology. And what we should be doing is we should be teaching philosophy in schools, teaching people how to think instead of telling them what to think. Because that's basically what we get in a public education these days. There's a lot of rote memorization and mimicry, and as long as you can kind of mimic the patterns of behavior that lead to the successful outcome, like even if it's mathematics, there are plenty of people who get good marks but don't even really understand what they're doing. So yeah, I think if we get into the hows and the whys, that's the big question in philosophy, is why, and how do we know? And teach people how we know the methods by which we arrive at logical conclusions, then I think that will go a long way to mitigating against this kind of mass formation Woods derangement syndrome again in the future.
Last question. What is your overall goal, or what do you hope as Canadians watch you online and as you do your civil disobedience and go through the court system, and you kind of like, you're the first guy through the wall. That guy always gets bloody first, right? What is your hope that, comes from this as Canadians watch?
Well, certainly I hope that my fine gets dismissed, but also, I mean, we need to put some measures in place to make sure that they don't do this to us again. Apparently, the Constitution is simply not cutting it. Our charter rights don't really mean anything to these politicians when they're worried about how they look or whatever. So I think that there should be penalties for human rights violations and charter rights violations for these dictatorial premiers like Tim Houston. Jail time. I'll echo Michel Juno Katsoya when he talks about Chinese interference. Some of these people should actually go to jail. I think that's appropriate. And the standards are always higher for those in higher positions of power. So Absolutely, I think there should be jail time for somebody who wields power against their own citizens in an abusive manner, the way that Tim Houston has done. Because and never again. Remember all that. I think just my read of the Forests Act in Nova Scotia, they're standing on Section 25.1 that says the minister can bar anybody from any part of the woods at any time. But I took that to mean he can do all that within the confines of the Constitution. And I don't think that was the position that the Crown was taking in court, though. It sure didn't seem to be. So perhaps it is the case that the Forests Act is ultra vires, and it should probably be rewritten to include some very clear measures. At what stage will they be putting in what measures for fire prevention? And they use the fire weather index when they're entering these decisions, so they could write it right into the law. When the fire weather index is at this, then we're going to have these measures. When it's at that, we're going to have these measures. There should be as little wiggle room for judgment on the part of a man like Tim Houston. When it comes to managing a crisis, he should have as little decision-making power as possible. We want to try to make as many decisions as we can ahead of time so that it's not left to his bad judgment. And of course, in the long run, I'm hoping this wakes more people up. Canadians really start getting back to being the true North, strong and free.
Well said. Thank you, Jeff, for being on the show. Really appreciate you. Say hi to Axel, your dog. We appreciate him too. He's a star now. Anyway, we'll definitely have you back and follow your story. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure. Have a great day.
Well, there you have it, Alan. What do you think? Is this,
well, it's good to see that some people are questioning, why would you do this? Why would you do this? And, tyrannical government is, as long as people will comply. And so you have to have your Jeffs that are willing to say, no, I'm not going to comply because this is just crazy. What has me walking in the woods got to do with fire?
Starting fires,
right?
Yeah, nothing.
I understand that, the fire, scenario can happen. And so you got to be very careful and make sure that you don't smoke and throw your cigarette away and whatever else, But people that walk in woods, very few of them smoke.
Yeah.
People
that walk in woods actually are the ones that respect the woods.
Right. The last thing they want is a fire in the woods.
Yeah. You want to help support our mission, keep this conversation on the air. We are viewer supported. We don't take government funds. It's just because of the generosity of those who watch the show, we can continue. You can go to our website, gotalktruth.com, click on donate. Many different ways to give digitally that way. If you want to do it through the mail, you can. You can make your gift payable to Heritage Christian Ministries Association and send it to 246 Stewart Green Southwest, Suite 3260, Calgary, Alberta, T3H3C8. All right, Dad, we're out of time. We'll see you guys later.
Love you.